My name is Matthew Weedman, and I teach art. That's video, photo, sculpture, advanced, seminar style classes, and a little bit of everything except for painting and drawing, basically. No, yeah, I've been here 6 years. I got tenure in the fall. It was very exciting, and now I'm very busy because once you get done with tenure, you're ready to do more things, basically. It's clearance to work more. I struggle with the making part. I don't necessarily enjoy that part. I love the problem solving. I love creating ideas. I really have a hard time sitting through the laborious process of it, and always have, so I have to trick myself. I am not the type of person who just loves making and creating. I love figuring it out. Whereas with students, I'm trying to find out something about them that they haven't discovered that's powerful. And so they might make their first piece of art, a non-art major, and it might be, as far as aesthetically go, not work out at all. Not tons of issues. But there might be, I'm looking for the something they do that's unique, that I haven't seen, that they seem compelled by underneath they're kind of struggling with the actual mechanics of the making. And that to me is the fun part of teaching art. And then trying to draw that out. When I started looking back at my childhood, so we have late 70s and early 80s especially. So we have the space race, we're coming out of Vietnam, we have Star Wars, all the space stuff. But they also had toys around of the previous generation that we would play with. So I was combining games of, Star Wars and rip-off Star Wars toys with, cowboy western stuff and playing with these similarities. So that got me into thinking about, so there's Russia, the Cold War, and it is how I learned history, because I wanted to keep uncovering this mystery of why my childhood, the toys I played with, were inspired by political issues, global political issues. This is the Magazine of Light, and I'm just interested in electricity. I'm interested in electricity, I think, partially because the aesthetics of it. I've done a lot of artwork with electricity and trying to make sounds from electricity and trying to make art from specifically light and light bulbs. And I think, once again, this is a promotion, that idea that this is a reading, that this is somehow you will be educated, but this was all a promotional tool, this whole magazine about light, and the fact that we call it the Magazine of Light, as if a moment in time when I hold this, somebody was like, oh, that light was going to be the future, right? Like now digital things are the future, right? And electricity's similarity to the internet, and how we dealt with it at the time, I understand that time because I'm a magician, and a lot of the magicians' tools were created in the medium, spirit mediums, and seances, which were kind of a reaction to this technological revolution of electricity, where you could see this amazing result, but you couldn't see how it worked. I think these are from the 40s, and you get that whole kind of nuclear family, which I always thought was interesting, which is 2.5, mom and dad, and then 2.5 kids, right? Is it 2.5 or 1.5? 2.5, right? So 2.5, it literally has 2.5 kids in there. And once again, this suggestion of an ideal family of America, of course, they're all, just homogenized in ways that are intentional. There's this white family, but also ways that are not intentional, like the pink of the type of ink they were using just didn't work over time. It started to smear down their faces. And I became really fascinated in looking at the things close up with macro lenses and filming light going across them and trying to see some real personality inside these objects, trying to understand them on a level that they hadn't been considered, I guess. I find that I don't even know what to say. I find these the most compelling objects I've ever held in my hands, and I just don't think I understand them yet, which is probably why I love them. I think most artists can tell you that the art that they like is the stuff that people don't like yet. Once once the art piece is successful, it becomes very boring to the artist because you've solved the problem. But the pieces that are not quite figured out, people don't quite get, those are still holding some magic. Like there's still something to peel off. And those objects specifically are something I'm going to peel off over sabbatical or get back into them. I have some new ideas about how to investigate them. So this is my dad's desk. And I believe it was made by a family member. And it's just very simple and beautiful. It's one of the few just real, it's not really nice, but the slim line, and it's very simple, and it has just a one drawer, and then it has this little writing tablet on it. And I just remember drawing on here and figuring things out. And then when I was first a nanny to like a goddaughter, she would draw on it, and now my kids draw on it. But I got this actually at a magic store that I worked at as a kid, and it's just recently closed down. But that magic store was kind of the pivot point because my father had died. This is my father's desk when he was a kid. He had died when I was 10, and he was interested in magic, and I kind of got into, whatever reasons, jumped in hardcore after he died. And without that magic shop, I was hanging out there. There were two men that ran it, and they became kind of symbols of good men that I could kind of pattern myself after. They weren't very macho, but they were still guys, and I could. So that helped me. But also, I created a friend there who eventually led me to this huge group of friends from my who were interested in the same things I was interested in, like art, weird, strange stuff, as opposed to my Midwestern town, which was interested in purely Guns N' Roses, and that was it. And that led me basically to Colorado, where I went to school, where I met my wife. So there is very little of me without working at that magic shop. So yeah, I grew up, I performed my first show for money when I was, I think, 8 years old. And I did that solid until I was 16. And then I decided I need to learn how to play guitar and do other kinds of art. But I never let go of magic, and it's probably the one community that I spend the most time in, more than the arts community. I spend time in the community of magicians, as far as who I'm talking to throughout the week, stuff like that. And this book specifically, I had this when I was a kid, and I would just look at it for hours. Once again, there's these images, not unlike the kind of successful little toy guys, of this creating, let me find a good image, like, this was written, this is Joseph Dunninger, who was a really famous, he had a radio show where he was like the magician detective, but so I just love looking at the images. This is a book where nobody would do these tricks the way they did it. 99% of these tricks are useless, and we're useless even then for the most part. But these beautiful images of people. So this man is doing some trick there, and it shows, here's these little coins, and then somehow they're sticking to this rod, and maybe they would fly out. But I'm just endlessly fascinated by, once again, the creation of using technology and kind of, the Industrial Revolution, all these tools that we've learned to make coins appear by magic. That you would make a machine to produce an illusion to get somebody to believe that magic is real. I just kind of think that's what we're doing, whether it be art, whether we're trying to create something that is somehow perfect, so that we can be excited about the actual flaws and the little details that fall apart. When my dad died, I went so hard into magic, and you're already at puberty, so already trying to figure out how the world works, and then I lost my father, but I had this weird power where I was really good. By the time I was 13, I was actually pretty good. I was doing it every day. I stopped doing schoolwork for the most part. All I did was magic. And so by 13, I was fooling adults really pretty well. And so that gave me this understanding of the world that I needed to figure out more. And I think started this drive of who I am as an artist now. Of if I can, with this really simple techniques, fool a bunch of people that are adults that are supposed to have the world figured out, then I'm on my own. I'm really on my own, because this is really simple, and they are totally fried. So, and they are fried because they assume things, and that's what I found out. They assume the world is such and such, works such and such a way, and because of that assumption, I can fool them as a 13-year-old, right in front of them, while daring them to try to catch it. And that's where my interest in everything started. My wife and I searched for them, so that was our main activity before we had kids, was going to any garage sales, antique stores. Everybody in my family, when they want to get rid of a family heirloom, it gets sent to our house. We're talking probably 200 times this amount of stuff that I've collected and working out into ideas. And it's all to be around to inspire me, kind of as a muse, and also actually gets utilized in artwork itself. It becomes cumbersome. I let my kids play with the stuff and see what they make of it. But yes, it's a very intentional, not compulsive thing to create a world that I can live in, a simulacra of my own, that is this confluence of all these different subtle, seemingly entertainment, seemingly kind of fun, that are just loaded with cultural history.